Auston Matthews chatted Jonas Siegel, I guess, or, one-on-one about life in general. I don't know, just Auston Matthews never really says anything controversial.
Yep.
You do know he was pissed at the end of the season, which was good. He showed some emotion. And I was just saying earlier in the playoffs, he probably thought, why do the Boston guys play 23 minutes a game? Their best line, and I always seem to be going off the ice to try to get a checking line on. So hopefully that got rectified, resolved. But they're all playing nice. When I say all, John Tavares, Kyle Dubas in the same press conference introducing John Tavares, and now Auston Matthews when the C word comes up. Yeah,
the captaincy. And Matthews did say in the piece that he'd like to have it, but he understands Tavares' presence there. And I think that, Gord, I mean, this is such a debate. How much teeth does this debate really have? I mean,
well, with fans, when I look, a lot of fans, it has a lot of teeth.
With fans?
With certain faction of fans. Internally, I have no idea. I take them, maybe naively, at face value.
Okay, so let me throw it to you. John Tavares comes in. Auston Matthews is the kid that you drafted to be the next great one, so to speak.
Right.
So who do you give it to?
Well, I see no problem giving it to no one right now. Exactly. I see no problem at all. I see, first of all, a guy coming, I don't know, has a guy come in as a free agent and right away been the captain of a team he never played one game for?
Well, how long did it take? They traded for Dion, but how long did it take him to slap the C on him?
Well, not long. So Zdeno Chara in Boston, literally the first minute. So, but he's a tall guy. How could you say no to him, right?
That's because he scowled at them and they said, "You want anything else?"
6'9". Well, that was a good choice, Zdeno Chara. Dion Phaneuf was a great example because he wasn't right away, but he became, and again, there's a mix here, but let's just say Brian Burke and Ron Wilson were on the same page. It ended up being a very good trade by Brian Burke.
Yep.
At the end of the day. He was teacher's pet of Ron Wilson, but it was stupid to give him the C at that time.
Yeah.
At that time, it really was. It just, he'd only played 7-8 games or whatever the number was with the team back then.
When I look at this team, I see leadership coming through 4 different guys. Tavares has had the experience and has been the captain. Auston Matthews is the up-and-comer, kind of the franchise player, so to speak. The guy in that dressing room that I've really seen take steps to be a leader in the last few years is Morgan Riley.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the fact that how much more leadership do you have to show that in Game 7 when he chewed on a Zdeno Chara slap shot near the end of the first period, and he comes back out for the second period. You're showing your teammates, that's, to me, is leading by example. And then Patrick Marleau, who's been a captain there, and we've seen the way that he's kind of taken Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner under his wing, as kind of a big brother figure. What's wrong with having kind of a 4-tiered captaincy, 4 layers of that? I don't see anything wrong with that.
And then seeing what guy emerges.
Yeah.
Even with the Sedin brothers, it took one of them getting hurt for the other guy to kind of emerge as a captain that way. I'll go a little bit on the negative side in that the downside of, and we just mentioned Dion Phaneuf, who I think unfairly, got vilified about being captain just because you got tired hearing someone speak after loss after loss after loss, which is what he did. You go back, since George Armstrong, there's been elements of problems with every single captain. Dave Keon left on a bad note. Hockey Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf player ever. That's what he was voted. Something's amiss with Matt Sundin, too. Something's off there. Something's off there with him and his relationship with the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. I don't quite know what it is, but he doesn't come back for things. And
well, did he not? I thought during the playoffs, and I was away covering the Stanley Cup playoffs, but did he not come back into town, do some stuff at the local hospitals and say he's going to spend more time in the city now? I thought he did that back in May,
I don't
June.
Know. Are you mixing him up with Salming? I don't know. Borya's always back. He's larger than life. Yeah. But anyway, something to me is...
Matt's is also in his 40s with 3 kids under 5.
I understand that. People have said that. No, but he has not come to a number of significant events the last little while, including his statue unveiling.
Well, you'd like to think if there was anything there, if they could bridge this decade, this kind of issues that they've had with Dave Keon for decades, then you think that, you'd like to think the possibility exists that if there is a little bit of a ripple in the relationship with Matt Sundin, that can be ironed out.
That guy was a very underrated captain, Matt Sundin.
Well,
huge leader. Talk to anybody in the dressing room about Matt Sundin, the leader.
You talk to Matt's friends, okay? He's not a very public guy. You know, having been in Sweden last week, a lot of people say he's very reclusive. He lives just outside of Stockholm, waterfront place with his 3 kids, and he's not in the public eye very much. And yet, when he was captain of the Leafs, almost every single game, he would be out there and addressing the media. And the one thing is, maybe he wasn't, you know, he didn't covet the limelight, but he understood what that C meant, and especially what that C meant on a jersey with that logo on the front of it. And I agree with you, Gord. He was very underrated as a captain.
I don't do many impersonations very well, but here's one I do think half decent. As I said.
Yep.
Right? Matt started everything, even if he hadn't said it before.
Well,
because he probably said it another day, another week, another year, right?
I remember one year. It was it was the opening day of training camp, and his first question, he said, "Well, as I said," and it's like, "Wait a sec, Matt. I mean, we haven't talked to you in like months, okay?" The other one, okay, at the time, and now we're dating ourselves a bit, but when Mattson and Curtis Joseph, who also is a quality guy, but you know, you'd ask them a question and they'd always say before they'd answer the question. So our buddy and my former colleague at the Sun, Lance Hornby, he dubbed them the Wizard of Oz. And he once taped or recorded and timed, and one of the Oz, and I'm not sure if it was Matt's or Cujo, was over 3 seconds long. Yeah, I know. I did that for effect.
Okay. Well, see, they're
not very well either.
They're taught to think before they give an answer. I guess that's the old PR training.
Well, as I said, Gord,
that way. So anyway, well, we've talked about. I get so many people asking about the C. And I just agree right now with the leadership group. And John Tavares claimed it was not a topic of his negotiations. Yeah. And in Auston Matthews' case, everybody wants to be captain. Why would you not want to be captain? But I don't know if either of the two of them would have their nose severely out of joint. I'm talking about Tavares and Matthews. If they weren't to be the guys in the big picture. But I just two great players on the ice. That's what one of those happy predicaments. But a real leader will emerge. And also the key is that leadership core, that leadership group. And Rick Vaive was a captain who then wasn't a captain, and probably with the downfalls for him, it was a young team with not a very good leadership group. There wasn't the support group around him, a guy who took a lot of pride wearing the C when he scored 50 goals in 3 consecutive seasons.
Well, and look what happened in San Jose, where the C kind of ping-ponged back and forth between Joe
Kings.
Thornton and Patrick Marleau.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually to Joe Pavelski. But anybody that knows Marleau or Thornton knows those guys are class acts. It wasn't that. And the funny thing was there's kind of, I don't know if it's an urban myth, but a story going around that, you know, at one point when they didn't have a captain, the players voted kind of secretly, and they voted Thornton again. So, you know, after they had taken the C away from him. So it's, you know, the biggest thing is the guys know who gets the respect within the dressing room. It's just in a place like Toronto, it just gets magnified like everything else Leaf does.